this looks fun.
It's a medium, not a genre. It's not part-time, it's a lifetime.
So when it comes to anticipated media, there's a lot that can happen in between the time that we wait for the media to come out. And a lot of it could possibly be stuff that influences someone to get away from the project and no longer see value in it. A lot of the times it can be stuff that can improve your imagination on what it could be. And for me, I have an experience where with this upcoming project, Rock, Paper, Scissors, like everything I've seen of it just made me want to go to it more. Coming from the minds of Kyle Stagina and Josh Lerman, this show is coming out on February 12th, and it really is like the most anticipated show I've seen ever since like I saw the first sneak peek of it. I just can't stop like really looking forward to it, and every single like snippet of it that's been released has just been like making me more and more anticipated. And the best part of it, I have to say, is the humor. So this video is going to be about how this show's humor really actually works better than a lot of other like shows in its field, because this is like one of the funniest shows I've seen, and it's not even out yet. Like, my goodness, I am so excited, so I just had to make a video on it. So I hope you guys can see my points as to why this show might be the best comedy of recent years at least. So I thought it would be smart to organize these different things that make the comedy so good in order from least to most major. So starting off with least, I chose sound design, and the sound design in this show is clearly pretty well organized. A lot of like big sounds, like there's a lot of like big sounds only when necessary for like really giving a joke a punch. One of the examples being from the pilot, where in that bulldozing show, it's the sound of the bulldozer hitting like whichever target it's aiming for, like adds the impact of it. And I feel like that just with like a different type of production, that would feel like less effective. In general, I think another thing about the sound design which works so well is the fact that the music is pretty tame. Like, it doesn't get pretty eccentric with the music like shows like Breadwinners would do. Not that it's like an issue, but I feel like for this show it really helps like give the larger sounds that they do use more impact, and I feel like that was the intention of the show in the first place. Like, when you see like certain rockets or a bunch of magical stuff happening, but just the way how the lack of sound or the minimal sound audio for music is used really makes like you pay more attention to that stuff, and even like some stuff which I'm gonna be going over later. But yeah, even though this is like the least major effect that I have in my mind for what makes this show so effective with its humor, I gotta say it's pretty good as well. Really speaks to show you about this show's quality. So next up is the visuals, and the visuals are pretty interesting because they involve using photorealistic and like just stock photos in order to make the world that the characters inhabit. I've never really been too big on this style, but I do feel like it can work if used like not too distractingly, and I feel like this show doesn't do it that much. It melds into the world pretty well. I like how this show, unlike other like shows with like more random looking visuals and style to it, the show isn't that saturated. It's pretty desaturated. It's not like depressingly looking, but it's just pretty clearly calmer than they usually are. And I feel like that really helps give this show more of an identity, and also helps work with the humor that the show can have, especially when it's doing something more outlandish, because I feel like it would stick out more. And I guess I could talk about the character designs here. I feel like they're not like the groundbreaking character designs. They're not Juniper Lee, but I do feel like they do work in once again making the like more outlandish stuff feel a bit more surprising. And I feel like the character rigging, the actual animation itself, is serviceable. It does its job and helps make the comedic timing and the comedic movements of the characters feel good. The characters can be pretty expressive too. I'll talk about how the actual trio work later on, but as for the visuals itself, it does a pretty good job of making sure that the show can have some pretty cool and pretty entertaining moments. The show can it can have some pretty cool designs, is what I'm saying and stuff. And so yeah, that's it for this section. Now it's time for us to talk about the characters. Specifically, I will focus on the three main ones, and really it would make most sense to do it rock, paper, then scissors. So first off is Rock. He's kind of the dumb one in the group. He's pretty strong as well. He's the dumb strong one, but one thing I like that the show does is that it gives him a motivation. He wants to be a male model, and that actually does come into play for quite a few moments, and I feel like that really helps in order to just make him feel more dimensional instead of just being the trope which a lot of people have seen before, including me. I have been getting a little tired of it, but this really adds in some new dynamic to it, and just how his interactions with other characters are fun, and I do feel like he works well. The other two can't really work without him. And speaking of the other two, we have Paper now. Paper is the smart one. Well, still a small one. He aspires to be big inventor, but whenever he makes stuff, it doesn't work well. He is pretty he pretty much just does his best to try and impress everyone who he tries to get around. He's working on just improving himself and stuff, and I feel like that's a bit fun to watch. It leads to some pretty entertaining stuff which can happen between him and the others. And speaking of the others, next up we have Scissors, who I gotta be honest is definitely my favorite. I know I mentioned designs previously, but I just love his design so much. He looks so goofy, little goofball, and so he's basically the cool one, the Mr. Shades, the cool wearing black jacket guy, and that is a trope which I don't think I can ever get tired of. It can be pretty fun, and I feel like he really does add he doesn't make me stop enjoying that trope, and he wants to be cool and stuff. He just wants to be his own little cool thing and stuff. In retrospect, he isn't the most, I do feel like Rock is the most dimensional out of all these tropes, at least from what I feel from them. I feel like that's just how the characters work for them. They don't have to be all be super deep and stuff. I do feel like his all the other characters, his role works well with the others. I could add in just a small snippet of that one pencil girl. She's fun. I'm sure we're gonna see a lot more of her in the future, and I'm curious to see that. But anyway, these are the characters, and they do work pretty well with the tropes that they have. It does lead to, at least in the episodes we've seen, some pretty funny results, and this leads us into Thanks to some very experienced voice casting and some amazing voice direction, the voice acting happens to be one of the best things about Rock, Paper, Scissors. I just can't deny this show's humor. The main way how it works is because of how great the voice acting is, specifically from the three main characters. Let's do the same thing we did before, and let's talk about Ron Funches as Rock first. He voiced characters like King Shark from the Harley Quinn show, and I feel like he's really in his element here. He really does pull off the lovable oaf type character really well, and he can be like really flow well into like different emotions with it. One example is from a short or clip that's been released online where he gets a little mad. Rock gets like upset, and his voice acting, Ron's voice acting, really helps to make this character like feel believable, yet also pretty funny in his angry state, because he's usually supposed to be like all happy and stuff. So now we're on to Thomas Lennon as Paper. He's voicing a lot of characters as well, like Top Cat from the Jellystone cartoon, and unfortunately a lot of his characters have been like from media I'm not that familiar with, so all I'll say is that he does a good job as Paper. He really does accentuate like the snooty, stuck-up smarty guy that he is. Really helps add to his character and the jokes around him. He might be like consistently, or maybe almost as consistently as Scissors when it comes to the funny moments. He is like really that good at like the line deliveries and stuff. But I can't deny that like the best voice actor in this probably is Scissors' one with Carlos Ellis. I probably didn't pronounce the name right, but anyway, he's voices a ton of characters, and I find it funny how he voices like what might be one of my favorite modern Nickelodeon characters, while also voicing one of my least favorite ones. Please don't watch Bad Clock, it feels like a creepypasta anyway. So yeah, he's just extremely charismatic with it, and he really does bring up this like whole like whatever type character. It's really entertaining. He's one of the few characters I can legitimately say like makes me like chuckle, like just from opening his mouth, and it really is kind of, I'm just pretty amazed at just how enjoyable he is to watch. He's just so much fun, and he really is, along with the other two, great, and a big highlight of why this show is really cool, but almost as much of a highlight as it's the writing. What can I say? It's the writing. To be fair, like this show aims for absurdist, where side of logic type humor, and that's like my favorite type. But I feel like the show does it like in a specifically entertaining way because of just the previous stuff I mentioned before, like how the animation is like a little toned down and really is like just able to suit the style just right without going over the top, along with the colors being a little desaturated but not enough to like make it feel lifeless, along with stuff like the voice acting in order to like add to like a bit of like sarcasm to like how ridiculous some of the situations can be. I just feel like just like the writing is just like I can like pause, I can just like fast forward like episode from any point in its time, and I feel like I'll just come across a pretty great joke, and it's really hard to say that about a bunch of other shows, especially other ones on Nickelodeon right now. But what can I say? This show is just really, it's just amazing how like well this show is piquing my interest, and it's just doing exactly what I was hoping for when I first saw the trailer, when I first saw the like first minutes of the pilot, and I really hope that it can be able to deliver more of the writing that I haven't seen yet, because I am so excited to like see what can be coming out of it next with that. Oh my gosh, there are so many like scenes which just made me end up like, it's not too often that I like laugh out loud as consistently as I do with this show and what it's shown to me. So I'm hoping for more of that, and I believe that will come by the time it gets out, and that's really good to hear. I just gotta say something real quick. It is true, in fact, that the intro for Rock, Paper, Scissors slaps so hard. Anyway, subscribe and you'll be catching this artist later. So, I don't know any songs which fit this IP, so I think I'll just come up with something off the spot. Rock, paper, scissors, so many types of humor. I can't wait to experience what could be a renaissance.